My wife 26 feels like a revenge affair is potentially a way to make up for me 30 male cheating 3+ years ago. Cheated on my wife 3+ years ago. We have been together 4 years this January. At the time she was my girlfriend and we had just started dating exclusively a few months beforehand. There wasn't anything wrong with the relationship, she treated me amazingly and I took her for granted. I was being completely selfish, lacking in integrity, short-sighted, and narcissistic. So this wasn't a case of both of us neglecting the relationship like many affairs. The cheating was as follows. I was calling a woman outside of our relationship multiple times a week. I eventually met up with this other woman multiple times over a month with physical contact and I had sex with her once. Things were ended between us and no contact whatsoever has been made between this other woman and me since. I knew I had made a huge mistake and I followed that up with another mistake by not telling my future wife about it immediately. I never cheated on her again in any way since then either. My future wife suspected the affair and confronted me about it. I lied to her and told her a story she didn't completely believe, but she at least believed that no physical cheating had happened, only that I had met someone behind her back. I basically refused to talk about it after a certain point. We were together 2 more years, lived together, built a life together, and earlier this year we got married with me still keeping this secret. I should add that our relationship has not been great since that time either. Although we had some happy times together, I had a lot of growing up to do in terms of learning what it meant to be a good partner in a relationship and a good person in life. I never cheated on her again. However, I was a compulsive liar, a thief, and I was unable to empathize with anyone or respect personal boundaries. My family of origin reinforced this behavior for my entire life, and only by living with my wife, who is an amazing, kind, strong, an empathetic person, have I learned how much happier I am not living the way I was raised. This has drastically improved me as a person but caused her much pain and suffering, which I deeply regret. My future wife suspected the affair and confronted me about it. I lied to her and told her a story she didn't completely believe, but she at least believed that no physical cheating had happened, only that I had met someone behind her back. I basically refused to talk about it after a certain point. We were together 2 more years, lived together, built a life together, and earlier this year we got married with me still keeping this secret. I should add that our relationship has not been great since that time either. Although we had some happy times together, I had a lot of growing up to do in terms of learning what it meant to be a good partner in a relationship and a good person in life. I never cheated on her again. However, I was a compulsive liar, a thief, and I was unable to empathize with anyone or respect personal boundaries. My family of origin reinforced this behavior for my entire life, and only by living with my wife, who is an amazing, kind, strong, an empathetic person, have I learned how much happier I am not living the way I was raised. This has drastically improved me as a person but caused her much pain and suffering, which I deeply regret. I feel horrible about the person I was, about the way I was treating my wife and the way I was conducting my life. I still don't know how I will ever be able to live with myself and my past and struggle with it daily. I've tried to channel this shame and guilt into becoming a better person and trying to repair the life my wife had that I destroyed. Right now we are living together, married, and I am fulfilling all of her needs that she will allow me to, caring for her, cooking for her, spending every moment we can together, talking through painful thoughts, feelings when they come up, etc. I'm consistently making progress towards becoming a good partner for her, getting a well-paying job, connecting with her emotionally as much as possible, showing her I've grown up, completely changing my personality, life values, and the way I spend my time. This all may be too little too late. I know what happened eats at her day and night. She has withdrawn. She says she isn't in love with me anymore, and I don't blame her. She is still here trying to move past what happened, seeing the changes I've made, and trying to believe in them. I think she sees that I have the potential to be a good partner for her, but our past history, most of which was unhappy for her, is holding us back. Revealing such a huge breach of trust blows apart your life and shows all of the weak points, which we had many. I wanted to ask the Reddit community for their thoughts and advice on one in particular, my wife's thoughts about having an revenge affair. One of the feelings my wife has been struggling with is that if she stays in this relationship she will always be the person who was wronged, who was treated badly. And that scale will never be balanced. Even if I treat her perfectly for the rest of our lives, there will always be this deficit that will never be made up and will mean that she was less. She will always be a martyr and this will never be an equal relationship. She has been constantly telling me that she wants to have her own affair. That anyone besides me paying attention to her and showing her any affection or warmth would make her feel good. Whoever this other man was, they could make her feel better than I can right now, even though I have been showering her with love and affection and showing her how much I care. She says she sees how much I love her and all of the effort I have been putting in, but that none of this means anything to her, it doesn't connect with her anymore. She actually seems surprised that I would care at all if she slept with someone else. The sanctity of our marriage was already broken in her eyes. She has been trying to convince herself that having a revenge affair is a bad idea. She hasn't done it or even come close to doing it, but she has brought it up multiple times a week for the past month or more. She admits that cheating on me probably won't do anything good for our relationship, but it will definitely make her feel better. Like the scores are more even and she isn't such a martyr. At the same time, she feels like by cheating on me she will be compromising her own values and morals and stooping to my level. And she doesn't believe that you should ever let anyone else change your values. That if she was going to cheat on me, she would be more true to herself by just leaving me and leaving the relationship. I feel like I understand where she is coming from with all of the above. It is obviously very painful, but I deserve it. I want to hear your thoughts on our situation and any experiences people have with similar situations where the cheater was just being a bad person and the betrayed did nothing wrong in the relationship. In particular, how this relates to a revenge affair, evening the scores, etc. I think her point is more that I have already cheated in the relationship. Why does it matter if anyone cheats at this point if it makes her feel better? Even writing this I realize what broken thinking this is. wnich for calling my mom when my husband refused to listen to me. I recently moved into my first home. I am also 4 months pregnant with our first baby. The pregnancy has been very hard. I have horrible morning sickness. It reached a really bad point where I passed out, hit my head, and my doctor admitted me to the hospital for a week. When I got home, my husband allowed his brother's family to move into 2 of our 3 bedrooms. One room was my office, was tossed into our room, papers everywhere. The house was a complete wreck. Trash, dirty clothes, used diapers. I started to cry. It was like a light flipped. My husband was no longer the same. My husband told me it wasn't that bad. My reply was, fine, then you should have the house cleaned up before I wake up. Completely exhausted, I fell asleep for 4 hours. I woke up and went to get a drink of water. I couldn't. Every glass we own is scattered around the house. They didn't clean a single thing. I passive-aggressively started to pick up the dirty dishes and washed them. The following morning, I was trying my best to work when their kids were crying non-stop, banging on the walls, so on. Their mom was in her room for hours ignoring them. When my husband came home, he was upset with me over how I didn't make his brother's wife feel welcome in our home by helping with their kids when she was tired. Then continued to complain how nothing was done while he was at work all day in the house. Yet the same one he didn't clean. That led to a fight where I told him I am too sick to have company and they need to leave. To which he replied they are his family and he won't kick them out. I started to cry again. I was beyond frustrated, exhausted. I physically couldn't do it anymore. I called my mom asking if I could come stay with her, telling her the whole story in front of my husband, who at this point was completely shocked, angry. Also, I could tell he wasn't sure what to do. My mom came with my brothers. My mom, super angry, told my husband, since your family can stay, so can we. My mom quickly took charge. I was sent to bed. My brothers started cleaning, complaining loudly at how disgusting my Bill family is. Along with what a horrible husband my husband is for putting me through this while I am sick. I got a text message from my mill for calling me an A for not helping my husband clean up the house and putting my bill in an uncomfortable position by having my mom boss him around. Edited to add update. When my mill showed up she was super angry outside. I could hear shouting but couldn't understand what was said. Once inside she was shocked. My house looked really bad. My bill lied to her about what happened. My mill quickly started to help my mom in the bossing mode. My house is not just cleaned but deep cleaned. My bill and his kids are now staying with mill. She didn't know about the eviction. My in-laws helped them financially a couple of months ago. My mill was not happy about it. Sil refused to come out of the bedroom. She would scream through the door but that was about it until her family came to pick her up. Last little bit, I did talk to my husband. He seemed very remorseful. I asked for some space. He is staying at a hotel. He asked to come by and talk to me tonight. My mom and dad are here. Both moms felt like I should have someone here since I am sick. Both moms have set up a meal plan, where they trade off who will bring in dinner. It was my mill idea. Thank you for all your advice. I truly appreciate it. Talk with husband. Summed up, since it lasted 4 hours it was a hard talk. He is remorseful. Bill was only supposed to stay for a couple of nights, then leave. Originally he thought they would be gone before I got home. He said he is tired and emotionally upset himself. When I originally passed out, my husband left to help a friend move. He came home and found me. He said he has no idea how long I was on the floor hurt. He was originally scared I had died. Since then he has had nightmares, on top of dealing with his family drama. He admitted to dumping his frustration onto me, when it's not my fault. He begged me for another chance. The next steps. We are still separated. He plans on staying at my brother's house in his casita. We are going to go to marriage counseling and individual counseling. He asked if he could come when the home health nurse comes each night and to my doctor's appointments. I agreed to that. Update on Bill. His wife admitted to having an affair. She told him she got married too soon and doesn't want the responsibilities of being a mom anymore. I am not sure what will happen with him and his kids, but I am shocked that she feels this way, especially with her kids. wnich for losing it after finding out my wife let her sister and her boyfriend stay at my late wife's cabin. I lost my late wife to brain cancer. All her life she was living healthy and always loved spending time traveling and going on road trips. She was always an outdoor person, although she had a demanding career. She had a high-paying job while I was earning money that barely paid for bills. We were married for 5 years. We bought a cabin together that we used for holidays and weekends. After her passing I couldn't set a foot in it for a whole year. Everything was the way she left it. I don't go there often, but only on big occasions when I need to feel closer to her. My family suggested I sell it, but I couldn't bring myself to do that. The idea of selling it makes me feel like I was losing her all over again. So I left it as it is. I married my now wife 6 months ago. I have 2 step-kids that are filling my days with joy and comfort. But lately my in-laws have been having issues, specifically my sister-in-law. She lost her job and she and her boyfriend had nowhere to live. We've invited them to our place for 2 months, then my brother-in-law took them in. My wife days ago told me brother-in-law had an argument with his sister and kicked her and boyfriend out. I asked when that happened. She told me about 2 weeks ago. I then asked where her sister and her boyfriend were staying and she took her time to answer. I asked what's wrong, and she flat out told me that her sister's been staying at my late wife's cabin for 2 weeks now. I was stunned when I heard and I asked her for more clarification. She said she gave her sister a copy of the key to the cabin to stay there till she finds a job. Then proceeded to say she didn't tell me because it wasn't a huge deal. I couldn't help but lose my temper. I told her she had no right to hide this from me and let her sister into the cabin knowing how I'd feel about it. She said my reaction was the exact reason why she hid it from me. I called her selfish and inconsiderate of my feelings, but she argued about wanting to help her younger sister and said I was the selfish one for not helping family during tough times. The kids walked into the kitchen. I just stopped arguing and walked out. My wife followed me. I demanded she call her sister and tell her to move out and hand over the key. My wife looked shocked, saying she expected me to react this way but not go as far as demand that her sister moves out, and called me cruel for making her look bad to family. We kept arguing till her sister moved out and brought the key. My wife packed her things and went to stay with her parents. She told me that my late wife was obviously more important to me than my family and that she won't come home till I get my priorities straight. I haven't visited the cabin after her sister left. I haven't been feeling well these days and I'm not ready to go see how the place looks now. I just need time to calm myself down to be able to go there. My wife is at her parents' house and she took the kids with her. I miss the kids and she won't let me speak to them. Which is another problem because my heart literally feels heavy when I'm away from them. I miss them so much and can't stand the house without them there. wnich for not helping my mom with her bills anymore after siding with my wife and acting rude to my pregnant girlfriend. My ex-wife and I are still stuck in this long drawn-out divorce going well over a year and a half already. My mom hasn't shut up about convincing me to take her back because we've been together 15 years. My ex had an emotional affair for 5 months, but because it wasn't a physical one, my family feels we should have worked it out since that's what my ex wanted. 8 months after leaving her, I met my girlfriend Alice. Then when we decided to become a couple, I went ahead and officially filed for divorce. My girlfriend is over 5 months pregnant with our little guy, but my mom hasn't supported this at all, even though she always complained about wanting grandkids. We moved in together 2 months ago and right now my mom has regular appointments for physical therapy 3 times a week. I've been the one taking her because it's an hour drive and she can't be behind the wheel that long. Usually she makes the short drive to my place, then we go to her appointment. Sometimes I get there late, so Alice lets her in to wait for me to get home. First time my girlfriend said my mom called my ex right there in front of her and was passive-aggressively talking about how our place looks. Then she says she told my ex that she misses our old house. I told my mom that was extremely inappropriate. She acted like she didn't do anything wrong since it's not her fault. My girlfriend was eavesdropping on their conversation that she would obviously hear because they were in the same room. Stupid little things like that. Bring up my ex-wife or something from our past. On Monday she was over again waiting for me. We got into this big fight when Alice told me she's done trying with her. My mom told her to stop trying to get some kind of approval. It'll be a waste of time because I won't be around her once I supposedly come to my senses about my ex and have a real family. I really don't know what set off this kind of reaction out of my mom, but knowing her, it was probably random. My girlfriend was extremely upset. That made me see red. Safe to say my mom didn't go to her appointment because I sent her home. My brother agreed to take her instead, but I've also refused to help my mom in any way since she claims she doesn't believe the family I'm making with my girlfriend is not real. She's on a fixed income that barely covers half her rent. Since she doesn't work, my brother, sister and I pitch in every month on everything so she's covered. They're coming down on me because they can't afford to take care of her themselves. And while they get she is way out of line, she relies on me for financial help. My mom has told me I can't punish her for her opinion just because I don't like it. Honestly, her talking to me makes me want to help even less. But still, I want to know if that makes me an asshole, since it does fall on my siblings too. wnich for announcing the reason why I didn't invite my brother to my wedding and exposing him to the entire family. I got married 2 weeks ago. I was married before, but it ended after I found out that my older brother Thomas got involved with my first wife. It was devastating because we were close and had a great relationship. I also helped him so much while he was struggling, and seeing how he repaid me hurts to this very day. I stopped talking to him and mom and dad forced me to keep it a secret, and because I was too weak to argue with them, I just kept my distance. Then I met my now wife. my family loved and embraced her as their own. Mom and Dad treat her like a queen, which helped repair and solidified my relationship with them. However, as the wedding was approaching, they told me they expected me to invite Thomas. I of course refused, but they kept guilting me about what the relatives and other guests would think and say when they don't see Thomas there. I fought with them about it till the day of the wedding. Turned out they'd invited him behind my back, but I found out and stopped them in time. They came to the wedding looking pissed, asking what we were going to tell people when they ask about Thomas. I told them I'd take care of it. And what I did was take a moment while everyone was paying attention, grabbed the mic and flat out announced this and said, the reason I didn't invite Thomas to my wedding is because I was worried he'd steal my now wife just like he stole the first one. I said it playfully to not make it sound so tense, but most of the guests looked shocked and started mumbling. Then it went awkwardly quiet for a moment. Then we moved on, but I saw Mom and Dad walk out while looking at me grudgingly. Later they started lashing out about how I just exposed Thomas and caused him to be shunned by the family in the most hideous of ways. I told them that I already said I didn't want him there, yet they tried to push him on me repeatedly, saying, "What are people going to say?" So I told them the reason why he wasn't there in a playful way, but they still got the message. Mom started yelling about how everyone will now look down on and shun Thomas. She called me pathetic and cruel for still punishing him and gradually ruining his life despite him apologizing and trying to reconcile, but in my opinion, some things are just unforgivable. We've been on horrible terms since then. Ada, my wife, said at least now they're off my back about what people would say about not inviting him.